Institute, Matthew Reed.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 8th Harkin International Disability Employment Summit. My name is Matthew Reed, and it's my privilege to serve as Executive Director of the Harkin Institute. For a brief visual description, I'm a white male, about 6'2", in my 50s, liberated from hair, wearing a gray suit and a t-shirt that says, "Harkin takes all my friends to the summit." A few of us are wearing those. If you don't understand the reference, ask your local Swiftie. We are thrilled to be back in Washington, D.C. for this year's event. Each year, the Harkin Summit brings together key champions and implementers from around the world to increase employment of people with disabilities. We received a record number of content proposals this year and have curated an incredible lineup for panels for the next 2 days. Of course, this event would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. This morning, we'd like to thank Right Here for their support. Right Here provides talking signage so everyone can interpret and understand the summit surroundings in real time. Audio descriptions are delivered directly to your smartphone or tablet via the Right Here app. You can download the app in the Apple Store or the Android Store. In order to be as accessible as possible, we're also offering American Sign Language and CART captioning in every session during the conference. ASL interpreters will also be available at registration and floating around the conference. If you need a quiet space to relax, there is a sensory room available in the Commerce Meeting Room, 1 floor below the lobby level. There are also networking and meeting rooms available to conference attendees, located in the Hart and Cannon rooms. Finally, we have an event app you can download to save sessions to your schedule, view sponsors, send messages, and more. And if you'd like to share anything about the summit on social media, please do, and use the hashtag HarkinSummit24. Now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, it's my pleasure to introduce the man without whom any of this wouldn't be possible. Please welcome Senator Tom Harkin.
Well, good morning, everyone. Morning. I'm so happy to be with you at the 8th Annual Harkin Disability Employment Summit. For me, it's a great opportunity to get reacquainted with so many friends of many, many years, and to make new acquaintances, which I've done yesterday and today. So I look forward to being with you today and tomorrow. And if you'd like to come up and just talk to me about some things, I would appreciate it very, very much. Back in 2016, when we hosted the first Disability Employment Summit here in Washington, I never could have imagined the impact this event would have had around the globe. Our goal that we stated at that time, and some of you who are here were at that first one, our goal was to double the rate of employment of people with disabilities in 10 years. And I kind of spelled out what that meant. It meant that if you were a company and you had 2 employees that were self-identified as having a disability, then make it your goal to have 4 in 10 years. Or if you had 2% of your employees were persons with self-identified disabilities, make your goal 4%. We thought these were very modest goals, but nonetheless, goals to be attained. And quite frankly, the idea was just to keep moving forward. To keep moving forward for employment in competitive integrated employment for persons with disabilities. Some have exceeded that goal already and are moving ahead very aggressively. And so I thank them for that and encourage again this continual progress towards expanding opportunities in competitive integrated employment. And I want to also add that not just at entry level, but also to make sure that companies have the same kind of opportunities for growth, for advancement, as anyone else in their corporation or in their company. And to change the training programs to make sure that a person with a disability can get through the job training program that may have been designed as one size fits all. But we all know that some people learn differently. And so therefore, to get really quality employees who may have a developmental or intellectual disability, perhaps the training program needs to be modified a little bit because people learn differently. But once they learn, you'll have the best employees in the world, as we know from past experience. So those are all things that the Institute's been working on, and so many of you have been working on over the past several years that we've been having these employment summits. Now, over the next 2 days, speakers will be sharing their stories of success from past summits. And again, I want to say none of this would have been possible without the support of the Ford Foundation initially. Rebecca Coakley, who is the first director of the Ford Foundation's U.S. Disability Rights Program. It's a new program that they put at the Ford Foundation, and Rebecca Coakley is their director. She's here with us today, and I hope tomorrow. I haven't seen Rebecca yet this morning. But the Ford Foundation has been a longtime sponsor and champion of the Harkin Summit and has even pledged to help sponsor the next 2 events, wherever they're going to be. I don't know yet. Maybe Daniel knows. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to Rebecca Coakley and to the president of the Ford Foundation, Darren Walker, and the entire Ford Foundation for helping uphold the legacy of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and also the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The first title in the ADA is employment. I made sure of that when we drafted it. And it's also Article 27 of the UN CRPD, which addresses employment. Speaking of legacy, the site of our last Harkin Summit in Belfast, Northern Ireland, has perhaps seen the most impact. Harkin Belfast helped create 420 jobs for people with disabilities, 100 mentoring opportunities, as well as ensuring that more than 250 hospitality staff from 28 companies in Northern Ireland received disability inclusion training. I just want to also point out that we missed 1 year of having a conference. We were scheduled to have it in Amman, Jordan, but Prince Murad at the last minute, because of problems in the Mideast, not so much in Jordan, but in the Mideast, kind of precluded us from having that. And so we're looking forward to hopefully at some point down the future also taking advantage of his hospitality in the Kingdom of Jordan to have a summit there at some point in the future. But back to Belfast. Belfast Department for Communities was our partner for the event and was instrumental in its success. The current Minister for Communities, Gordon Lyons, couldn't be here today, but he did want to share this special message with you all. And after the message, you'll hear from our Disability Director, whom I know so many of you know, Daniel Van Sant. So thank you for being here, and let's listen to Gordon Lyons. Thank you.
Senator Harkin and distinguished guests, good morning from Belfast. It's a pleasure to speak to you from Northern Ireland as part of the opening of the 2024 Harkin Summit. Sincere thanks for the warm invitation to open the summit. I'm sorry that I couldn't be with you in person, but I'm certain that you will have a productive and engaging few days ahead. Disability is a close personal interest of my own and a priority interest for my department. Representing 1 in 4 in Northern Ireland, no one is untouched by disability. be that themselves, their family, friends, or colleagues. From an employment perspective, supporting disabled people into good work not only helps to alleviate poverty, support social inclusion, and help improve health and well-being, it also makes economic sense, offering a world of underutilised perspectives, talents, and experience to support our economic aspirations. Across our history, Northern Ireland is well known for departures to the United States. Of course, we are very proud of our shared Ulster Scots heritage, but we are also famous for our warm welcomes. So it shouldn't have surprised anyone that in June 2022, Harkin Belfast brought 650 international leaders to Northern Ireland, representing more than 30 countries, to discuss an overarching theme of disability, shaping, growing and driving economic change. We are immensely proud of this landmark moment for Northern Ireland. But a summit should not be a single, isolated event. It should be a starting point for building, scaling and improving our networks, our policy and our practice. In borrowing the Harkin Summit for Belfast, we wanted to ensure that we respected its reputation and heritage, but enhanced its legacy when passing the torch back. So we set out to ensure that we left a lasting impact for disabled people in Northern Ireland and a legacy that continues to grow. So let me share with you just a fraction of what was achieved. Through our Job Start scheme, Harkin Belfast ring-fenced and supported 420 young disabled people into employment. The wider scheme has supported thousands into employment, many with barriers to work. During the summit, we delivered 100 mentoring sessions connecting senior international leaders with young disabled people to support and guide them in their career journeys. We delivered an 8-week entrepreneurship course in collaboration with the British Council and hosted a Shark Tank competition for disability-led enterprises to support self-employment journeys. And building lasting change across our city, we supported a range of accessibility improvements and delivered disability inclusion training to over 250 hospitality staff. We also trained 50 of our own staff in disability etiquette as volunteers to support delegates during the summit. These tangible outcomes have had direct impacts on disabled people locally, and as a result, they are making their own impact in Northern Ireland. But beyond that, we took the opportunity to showcase our developing disability and work agenda for Northern Ireland. I am pleased to say that we are nearing the conclusion of this work, and I hope to launch a new 10-year disability and work strategy for Northern Ireland in 2025. It will set an ambition to raise the disability employment rate, and whilst building on our good work, it will catalyse change for disabled people and support and enable career ambitions. Whilst much was achieved through Harkin Belfast, this 2024 summit was a poignant moment. Many of you will have known Sean Fitzsimmons from our team. He was a valued member of the Harkin Belfast project and contributed to advancing disability rights and supporting change globally through many organisations and initiatives throughout his life. I cannot express the sense of shock and grief that has been felt across Sean's family, friends and colleagues with his untimely passing, and our thoughts are with Nicole, his son Ollie and wider family. We are so grateful to have had Sean as part of our team in DFC. His passion, energy and determination to achieve change are qualities that we will remember and continue to value. And I trust that you will remember him fondly in your own way, as we all do. He was an avid supporter of the Harkin Summit, and he wouldn't mind me saying, a fanboy of Senator Harkin, as many of you in the room are. And so I encourage you to channel that spirit as Sean always did and bring your energy to this agenda and discussions over the coming days. In closing, I want to leave you with words that ring as true today as they did when President George Bush signed the Americans with Disabilities Act into law. He was also a man with deep Ulster Scots roots. He said, "Together, we must remove the physical barriers we have created and the social barriers that we have accepted, for ours will never be a truly prosperous nation until all within it prosper." Thank you again from Belfast, and best wishes.
Good morning, everybody. This is Daniel Van Sant speaking. I created the run of show that put myself in this spot, so I have no one to blame but myself for being emotional up here. First I want to thank Minister Lyons for his kind words. I had the ability to actually meet with the minister back in October on a visit here to Washington, D.C., and some of our partners here in the room were able to come and meet as well. So I know that the minister couldn't make that trip twice. We were excited to meet with him in October and thank him for his messages. Sorry, I just want to record my remarks from a different angle as well. So, yes, I want to thank the Minister Lyons for his remarks, as well as thanking the Department for Communities for their support of the Belfast Summit. And of course, as the minister mentioned, many of you in the room know that Sean Fitzsimmons passed away just a little less than 2 weeks ago leading up to the summit. And all of those amazing things that the senator talked about and that Minister Lyon talked about of coming out of the Harkin Belfast Summit literally would not have been possible without Sean. And so I just want to acknowledge that that legacy will continue. We were really excited to hear how far things have continued to go in Belfast and in Northern Ireland, almost all thanks to Sean and his tireless advocacy in pushing those things forward. So I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that. Sean, of course, to many people in the room, was a close personal friend, myself included. He was a member of the Belfast Planning Committee. As I said, it would not have happened in Belfast without him. He was a part of this summit's planning committee. He was part of my life planning committee. And so it's really difficult to be here today and to not have him with us. We would have met up this week. He would be here. I don't need to belabor the point, but I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that his loss is felt not just in this room, but all across the world today and will continue to be felt. So I think traditionally people do a moment of silence when we lose somebody, but a moment of silence, hated to see Sean coming. There was not one that he would not quickly disrupt. So I think instead, I want us to do a moment of celebration for his advocacy and do a round of applause or whatever other vocalization or sounds that you would want to celebrate his legacy here today. So I hope you'll join me in that at this time. So, Sean, I know you're listening somewhere. In this room is just a fraction of the people that you have touched and affected. All of these people miss you, as well as people all around the world. Of course, from the Harkin Institute and from myself, we want to give our condolences and love to Nicole and Ollie, the Department for Communities, all of Sean's personal friends and colleagues in Northern Ireland and around the world. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. So, as I mentioned, I am Daniel Van Sant. I am our Director of Disability Policy here at the Institute. Instead of doing a visual description for this conference, I've opted to give myself an auditory signal instead. So, as amazing as the Right Here technology is in helping people navigate this summit, they're not able to geotag me personally, who will be flying around the conference. So I have fashioned some sort of homemade elf shoes. that I will be wearing for the next 2 days. We'll see if I come to regret that decision or not. So when you hear that kind of jingling, you know that I am somewhere in the vicinity. So whether that is for a blind or visual impaired reason or a neurodiverse reason or whatever reason that you might want to know if I am near you, I am trying to make myself personally accessible to all of our attendees at the conference. So if you hear those jingles, you know that I am on my way. For whatever you might need, just shout out and I'll be happy to help you. One of the other welcoming remarks I want to give in case people were not able to join us at the reception last night is I've received a lot of questions of why we're hosting the summit this week. And what I want to highlight is the reason that we chose this week was specifically to be within the winter break of universities and some high schools so that young people, the next generation of students, could join us. So with the lights on me, I can't totally see everybody, but I know there are a number of young college students, graduate students, law students in the room with us today and in the conference. So please take advantage of meeting them. We hear very often that companies don't know where to find disabled applicants, which in this room I think we know is ridiculous, but even if it's not, I've already found them for you. They're here. I've done all the work. I just want to hear that they've been hired sometime after this. So please make sure to engage with all the young people that are here. Many are volunteering. Some are giving up part of their winter break to be here to connect. Please make it worth their time in coming and making sure that they get opportunities out of this. I want to make sure that we thank Walmart for sponsoring the reception last night for everyone who came. It was a lovely reception, and we want to thank Walmart. Tiffany, who I think I saw earlier, for doing the book signing, was incredible. So thank you to Walmart for sponsoring our welcome reception and for being a sponsor of the summit itself. And with that, I want to make sure that I introduce our upcoming speakers here. So to join me on the stage, I will have Special Advisor for International Disability Rights, Sara Minkara. So Special Advisor Minkara is the U.S. Special Advisor on International Disability Rights. She's a senior diplomat for disability rights. Special Advisor Minkara leads the U.S. comprehensive strategy to promote and protect the rights of people with disabilities internationally and across our foreign policy agenda. As a Lebanese-American Muslim woman who acquired her disability at age 7, Special Advisor Minkara incorporates her personal experience with disability in all of her work. She has dedicated her life to promoting inclusion as a value and to empowering others to reach their potential. Joining Special Advisor Minkara on the stage is Dom Kelly, who is the co-founder, president and CEO of New Disabled South, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and New Disabled South Rising, which is a 501c4 arm of the organization. Dom is one of a set of triplets with cerebral palsy and a lifelong disability advocate. He received a master's in science in nonprofit leadership from the University of Pennsylvania School of Social Policy and Practice. Most recently, Dom was selected to be a part of the 2025 global cohort of Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity. So please help me in welcoming to the stage Special Advisor Minkara and Dom Kelly.
Well, hello everybody, and hello Special Advisor. It's so wonderful to be with you.
I'm so excited to be with you too.
I've been very much looking forward to this. I feel like we have so much to dig into. We have a lot in common. So first, want to start with a visual description of myself. I am a white man with brown curly hair, wearing a maroon, brown, checkered, plaid, whatever you want to call it, suit with leg braces and wearing a black facial mask.
Oh, you're wearing a mask.
I am wearing a mask.
Hey, that makes sense. Okay, sorry. Well, whenever someone asks me to describe myself, I kind of struggle. I'm wearing white and black all over and a black blazer. I do have 2 pimples that came out, so. Sorry, it's bothering me a lot, so that's why I'm sharing.
I have some as well.
But back to you, Dom, sorry.
Oh, thank you. Well, the typical introductory question, I want to spin it a little bit. So first, tell us who you are. We heard a little bit of your bio. Would love to hear more about what you do. And then, what do you do outside of work? Who are you outside of work?
Oi. And I know the team put that question in
Yes.
because I ask everyone else, who are you outside of work? So it's coming back. But before we get started, can everyone snap for me? If you can snap. If you're able to snap, can you snap? Okay, that gives me the size of the room. And, well, okay, thank you. And just thank you, Dom, and thank you to Daniel, who's an amazing partner. I just want to give him a huge round of applause, please, everyone, to Daniel and the entire team. And I love the bells. I think that's super cool for a blind person. And also Senator Harkins, thank you. It was so lovely getting to really get to know you really well last night, and I just want to say a huge thank you. So, okay, and hold on, my team over there. You snap. Okay, yes, there we go. Yeah, that's my team. So huge thanks to my team. So quickly what I do, until January 20th, I lead the U.S. Government Foreign Policy on Disability. We cover the globe. We've been to 50 countries in the past 3 years. And we advance disability through all lenses, whether we're talking about AI, technology, trade, investment, peace and security, in so many different spaces. But I'm going to stop there. Who am I outside of work? I think, I love math. Oh, I hear my voice repeating. Oh, okay, got it. I'm like, oh. I love math. I love nature. I love traveling. I love horses and riding horses. I love, most importantly, I love spending time with my family up in Boston and my friends. And I'm also Muslim, so that's a big part of who I am. And I'm an introvert, which people don't know that, but that's who I am outside of work.
As a former mathlete, I really appreciate your love of math. So you have done a lot of work over the last few years in this administration. The United States has engaged numerous multilateral partnerships about disability, from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to the G7. You said you've been to 50 countries. So why is it important to advance disability inclusion across multilateral partnerships?
So if we take a step back, and we take a high-level view of where disability is being integrated and where we're left behind, disability, it's either it's an invisible issue in a lot of spaces, or at best, if it's brought forward through a social protection lens. And then we stop there. But then let's take a look at, like, for instance, ASEAN, the Southeast Asia countries, the 10 Southeast Asia countries. ASEAN itself does so many, so this year, Laos had the chair, next year, Malaysia. There's so many different dialogues and ministerial meetings that happen throughout the year. Right now, they're negotiating the Digital Economic Framework Agreement. How do we ensure that disability, accessibility are part of those conversations? We cannot have a digital economy framework agreement without having disability and accessibility. But a lot of times, those conversations and those discussions are happening without even bringing in the disability lens. And that is what we need to do, take a high-level view, map out all of these different policy conversations, and see where disability is left out, and how do we bridge and bring the disability voice forward. Because ASEAN does have a disability strategy called the Enabling Master Plan. It is cross-cutting, the disability community is working on it, but the disability community and then the DEFA, they're not connected. So that is an important work. Let's take a look at, for instance, G7. G7 does a lot of discussions around AI, trade, investment, all of these different issue sets. How do we ensure disability is part of those conversations? So that's why these multilateral spaces are super important, but we cannot just keep having the conversations with ourselves.
And when you're in these spaces, what is the what's the reaction to you being there? What's the reception to you bringing this lens to these partnerships?
A lot of times, sometimes in some parts of the world, the reaction is, hold on, disability is part of our DNA. We actually do take care of our disabled people. I'm like, listen, I don't care about you taking care of it. I should be provided the rights like anyone else, but I want you to break down barriers so I can be able to fully participate and contribute to your economy. Shift how you're looking at it. The lens is always in the beginning for them, protection, taking care. We need to shift it to say, oh my God, we're losing out on the economic value that the 1.3 billion can bring forward to the system and society. That's what we need to get to that narrative. But I've had meetings with ministers of economy and digital inclusion and tourism, and a lot of times they said, in my 30 years, I've never thought about this topic. Wow, in my 30 years, you've never thought about disability inclusion in your work? We need to have those difficult conversations.
So at some level, we're really at a starting point. Well, thank you.
But can I just also...
Yeah, sure.
One other point on that. But one important partner for us has been our U.S. embassies. Because whenever you used to travel in the beginning and the embassy would put together a schedule, it would initially be the Minister of Social Affairs, Minister of Education, Minister of Health, and Minister of Labor. And there we go. And we would go back and say, sorry, I want to meet with the Minister of Trade, Investment, Digital Economy. And they would say, why? That's an important lens. Then we would meet with the leadership of the embassy, and we would be sitting around a table, and they want to go around and talk about the different disability things that they're working on. And I say, hold on, take a step back. Tell me about your top 3 priorities in your work. I want to hear those. And tell me how disability fit into those top 3 priorities. Does that make sense? Don't tell me about your disability pet project. No. I want to hear about your priorities and how do you think disability, and that's a hard exercise for some.
Yep. Well, thank you for being a strong voice in those spaces. It's so critical. So one of your priorities is to disrupt the narrative on disability. I'm a disruptor, so I feel like we have our vibes are really, there's something there. So I used to be in the music industry professionally, and disabled musicians are very underrepresented. So I, for many reasons, really appreciate this. And for your focus on transforming change across our society through disruption. So how can society disrupt the narrative on disability? How can we all in this room and beyond?
It's a really good question, and I do want to shout out my team and my comms specialist, Megan, who's been working a lot on this. We've been focusing a lot on engaging with media more intentionally and the entertainment industry more intentionally. So I'll give an example. When we went out to Turkey, our embassy organized a roundtable with Turkish soap producers, Netflix, different types of TV producers, disability civil society, and local government. And we talked about the disability narrative and how the entertainment industry can play a huge role. Initially, people were like, oh yeah, we can create a storyline with this main player who has a disability and the stories around. It's like, no, let's talk about actually what's the narrative we want to reach and hear from the disability community directly. Let's hear about the narrative and do not make it an inspiration porn or a charity narrative, but really think about how do we mainstream this narrative. The outcome of this conversation is we had producer leave that table and say, wow, I've never thought about it this way. It shows that I still have so much more work to do, and I want to do this work, but what I need to do is I need to engage the disability community more intentionally. That's what we need to keep building those bridges, because, those soap operas, the Turkish soap operas reach all over the world. Watch them and see what the disability lens is, right? That influences how society thinks about disability, which influences people, which influences then how we are having accountability on policy implementation. It's all connected. So we need to engage social media, entertainment, the art, the creative. 5% of Kenya's economy is creative economy. Are we thinking about disability lens there? We need to be able to bring the disability voice into those spaces in a more intentional way.
Thank you. So you are, from what I hear, developing a playbook for stakeholders to integrate a disability inclusive perspective in their industry. I would love, if you could, to share more about that, what industries, what the playbook looks like, when we can see this playbook.
When we could see. It's a really good point until it's fully cleared. But yes, it's a really good question, Dom. So we actually first launched an internal playbook for all of our State Department colleagues, because when I started 3 years ago, I wanted us to think about, because disability was very much pigeonholed in very one narrow lens, human rights lens, right? But it's an economic lens, political lens, security lens. And then also, I wanted more shared responsibility. So not just our office carry this work forward, but everyone to carry this work forward across the State Department. So with our Lima embassy, our embassy in Lima, Peru, because when we went out there, our ambassador at that time, Lisa Kenna, mobilized the entire embassy to actually, for our trip, got every single section within embassy to focus on disability. I was like, wow, this is exactly what means shared responsibility on disability. So from that point on, we developed an internal playbook for our State Department colleagues, illustrating how the ambassador, DCM, and all sections of the embassy should carry disability forward and how it should. It's a toolkit, so for the long term, so people can keep doing this work. Then people said, external people said, oh, we want a version for our own foreign ministry and diplomats, etc. So we have an external version being launched pretty soon on our website, and it's going to be a toolkit. And hopefully there will be other versions to it later on, where we are collecting best, good, and promising practices from all over the world so we can learn and engage. And then we're also developing a toolkit that's aligned to thematic issues that different multilats and dialogues engage on, like climate, AI, green jobs, et cetera, to really have a toolkit for our colleagues to be able to carry this work forward in their own sectors and themes. So that's the point of the playbook. So hopefully when it's out, please share it. Please give us your thoughts, your feedback, your comments, and what ways we can do more. It's not the end, it's the beginning, hopefully.
I'm going to talk in a minute about the change in administration, but you said, January 20th, your last day. I would love if you could share, what's a moment in your tenure in this role that you're really proud of, and maybe a quick short story that you love to share with everybody about, a travel or something that you did or were a part of? Not to put you on the spot.
So, first, I think this year we had the first ever G7 Disability Ministerial meeting in Italy, and it was a year-plus work with the Minister of Disability, Minister Locatelli, who's amazing. It became a minister-level meeting, and it was huge, and hopefully we can continue this forward with Canada next year and France the year after. And then also from that, South Africa has committed to doing a G20 Disability Ministerial meeting next year. So that's huge. But for me, the really amazing moments are the light bulb moments. I remember when we went out to Malaysia in July or early August, I forget. And we were sitting with the digital minister. And we wanted to meet with him because, of course, Malaysia has the chair of ASEAN next year, and I wanted them to be thinking about disability, accessibility through the digital lens. And the minister was very open and honest, and he's like, oh, I need to learn more about this. And I would love to learn more. I'm going to go back to my team and ask my team to look into this and see what we can do. Fast forward a few months, the team comes and presents to one of my colleagues, Andrea, and they illustrated how they see disability and accessibility can be carried forward in their ASEAN year through the digital lens. And that's huge. These are the moments I'm like, just a question, just a meeting, just a conversation can lead to, can really catalyze some of this work forward. I can have so many examples of that, but I mean, those are the moments that really makes it worth it.
I love that. So you are leaving January 20th. We have a new administration coming in. Understandably, many of us are nervous about what the future holds for our work. We are worried here at home about things like the eradication of our health care, Medicaid programs, education, access, all the issues, right, that we care about are even more top of mind globally. We're concerned about climate change. We're concerned about all the things we're concerned about here at home. Gaza is home to the largest number of amputee children in modern history, displacement in Lebanon. There's so much happening, and from your position, from the work that you've done, if you had a red telephone to the next administration, what would you share regarding the role of disability in foreign policy in this moment and in the next 4 potentially plus years?
I would say this work is super important and needs to continue moving forward. It's helped our diplomacy, it's helped the impact, it's helped really shape a lot of these conversations from multiple lenses: human rights, economic lens, security lens. And I think for me, I would say for everyone in this room, we need to keep engaging with what's coming next. We need to keep asking and pushing forward. And I'm hoping that the next administration will appoint someone in the next administration. And until then, Andrea Sillier, where are you? Stand up. She will be the acting and the face of our work until the next, special advisor. And the team is, there's going to be some team members that are continuing this work forward. And again, this is why we did the playbook, so it's shared responsibility across the State Department. And we've been having meetings across leadership within the different bureaus to say, please continue working with our team and then in the coming months. So my ask of you, please continue working with our office, please pushing on your end, please keep asking, make sure there's a special advisor, because disability is a nonpartisan issue. It's an issue that people will be willing, that it's just not prioritized. So put it on the top of the list if you can.
Thank you. As we wrap up, would love if you had any final thoughts to share. You just gave some good call to action, but any other calls to action for the folks in this room around the world who are thinking about disability in this moment and beyond? What can we do, and just anything else you want to share here?
My ask will always be 2 things. For me, myself, my team, and for everyone else is high level, think about what spaces we need to be in that we're not in. I always wonder about that. I don't look at the disability conferences as much. I look at the Munich Security Conference, for instance, the NATO conference. Those are the areas that I'm always, how do we look at those spaces and we bring the disability voice forward? And on the other hand, how do we look at the disability conference and see who else needs to be here that needs to hear this message? Who can we next year invite that is not thinking about us and bring them to the table?
Well, thank you so much. It was such an honor to be in conversation with you. I'm excited. I feel like we're going to do some good stuff together. And thank you all. Thank you to the Harkin Institute. And enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage the Director of Disability Policy at the Harkin Institute, Daniel Van Sant.
This is Daniel. I didn't know that I had play on music, so that's really nice. Happy to take the stage that way than how I was up here just previously. Thank you to Special Advisor Minkara and Dom for those incredible remarks opening up our summit today. So another round of applause for them. I think I can speak for everyone in the room when I say we are really excited for this playbook to be released. That's something that we're excited that hopefully you learned about here at the summit and can take forward. So with that, I am excited to release everybody to get to your first breakout sessions. You have some amazing content to choose from this morning, so I do not envy trying to pick between those sessions. But thank you all for joining us at the Harkin Summit, and enjoy the rest of the day.